It's showtime. um, some of you, I've said this before. Uh, I have been, I no longer am, although I will observe culture. I've been a cultural sponge for most of my life. I've absorbed religion and philosophy and different cultural realms that could be blue collar work, white collar work, finance, family, death, drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, you name it. Now, I'm not going to say that I've been deep, 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 because I heard just peripherally, I heard Iggy Pop in an interview recently, I don't know the date, where he made a reference to brinkmanship, which the way he explained it, I guess I never understood it. I heard the word, and there's been oftentimes people have exposed me to words that I was unfamiliar with, that were concepts that I thought were very valuable concepts. One good example would be something I heard Jello Biafra, Eric Boucher from Colorado, of the Dead Kennedys fame. Uh, I saw the Dead Kennedys in their early days, not their earliest days, and they played at a club called Mississippi Nights in St. Louis. And at that time, I was attending college. I believe I would have to go back and review the date that the Dead Kennedys actually played there. And I actually don't even remember the other bands on the bill. But at that point in time, my friend Jim and I were the editors, publishers, point people, instigators, however you want to refer to us as. But we were basically the sort of the main force behind a very unserious, reactionary fanzine that more than anything advocated for countercultural ideas. And so, in that light, the Dead Kennedys certainly fell under that umbrella, as did our friends in the anarchist community that helped us and really sort of mentored us in that process. Good morning. um, and we went to St. Louis, and it was really funny because it was a press conference, a punk press conference, and Jello was surrounded, and I don't even remember if any of the other band members were there. I really don't think they were. I think it was just Jello. And there were all these Missouri people and all these pretenders, and there was this fanzine that was much more professional than us, called Jet Lag in St. Louis. Very, very tightly put together, contrary to our anarchistic approach to this. And interestingly enough, during this interview, I was maybe the most inquisitive person. I had the most questions. And in those questions, and I would have to go back to the actual interview to know what I asked. And I don't think I have that copy. But the interesting thing, well, the word that he used was pigeonhole. And I'd never heard that term before. And so, uh, and just a little side note was that Jet Lag Magazine printed that interview and never gave me any credit. Not that, my ego needed it or anything like that. But I, never gave me any credit because it looked like they were the interviewers when all the questions were my questions. It was on a cassette tape. And so different people were taping it, and Jim was sort of the person that was in charge of those things. And when we went back to Columbia, we went back and listened to the interview and typed it up and printed it. But lo and behold, months later, we saw that, or a month later or so, we saw that Jetlag printed the same interview using all my questions and never giving me credit for, or giving us, Misery Magazine, or the editors of Misery Magazine, credit for the questions that were asked. It almost seemed like they were pretending that they were the ones making those inquiries. But going back to my original point, I heard Iggy Pop use the word brinkmanship, and I thought that I understood the word. Sometimes I guess we might have the tendency to hear things and that we think we know the definition, and we assume a definition. But I heard Iggy explain it in a way that I didn't understand it, which was brinkmanship would be the process, that's the way he explained it. And I'm not going to necessarily say that he's the final authority on the definition of the word brinkmanship, but this is the way he explained it. And I like the definition, and I kind of embrace it a little bit. The sort of brinkmanship is kind of pushing yourself to the edge. It could be the psychological edge, the spiritual edge, the physical edge, the cultural edge, but pushing yourself right all the way to the edge, to where if you go one step further, you would fall in the abyss. And of course, we know a lot of people that do that. People who are involved with drugs or of any kind, meth or heroin or beer, if you want marijuana. I hate saying marijuana, and I might go into that, but anything really, where we just kind of fall into this black hole, this void, where we lose ourselves, we lose any concept, and we become helpless, and we are strangulated, and it's a very, very bad place to be. And I've been very, very close. I've had experiences with mild psychosis or temporary psychosis, mania, different behavioral patterns associated with addictions. I've been there, not there anymore, but I have to acknowledge that I did have that experience. So I'm not speaking from a position of of not knowing, but I was immersed in this. Now, the title of this is what is the victims of authoritarian gaslighting. And when you hear something good, I guess for me, it's always worth repeating. And I think that this is going to help sort of deconstruct this process, if you will. And the quote that I've heard, and again, I'll remind, if you may have not heard this before, may have not heard me mention it before, I have been texting it to friends because I just love the quote so much. And it comes from Frank Herbert's Dune. Again, admittedly, I never read it, but I did confirm that the quote comes from his science fiction novel. I couldn't even tell you when it was published or first published or released or anything. I could go back and look at that, but it's inconsequential, really. And the quote is the following: "The mystery of life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to experience." Let's pause there, process that a little bit. And I will add, having dug just a little bit deeper, or maybe I didn't dig in the right way, I found out that there's a similar quote that is sort of a different wording of a quote that was made by Soren Kierkegaard, an existential philosopher. Again, I'm not going to pretend that I'm a Mr. Full of knowledge or anything like that, but what I kind of tend to do, and I think this helps the economy of my brain, if you will, is that I will assimilate information, I will process it, and then I get rid of the details because I don't see the benefit of sort of storing. I'm not a computer, so I don't see the benefit of storing all this information in my head, and to have this encyclopedic knowledge. That's what encyclopedias exist for. That's the reason they exist. And now with AI, I sort of ask it questions and I challenge it. So it's not like I don't challenge AI. And a lot of times they've programmed AI to have sort of these emotional tidbits that they add to the information they give me, like, oh, isn't it fascinating? And I'm like, look, I don't need to hear your emotional interpretations or attachments. To just give me the fucking information. I don't need you prettying this up and trying to pretend that you're my friend or something like that. We're not in this business for that. So I kind of, and it says understood, and then it continues, and it gives me the information that I'm looking for. So going back to that quote, I want to scratch a little deeper on what the meaning is. Okay. Essentially, what it is telling us is that we don't know what life is. We, in an absolute existential way. We, of course, we see life, and what amount we see, of course, is certainly different from person to person. But we see life. But truth of the matter is, we call ourselves human, but that's what we call ourselves. That doesn't really mean anything, and you can't infer anything from that at all. Okay, we really don't know what our purpose is. All we know is that we're here, and know, because just based on what I'm experiencing here, that I breathe and I run and I have sentience of sorts. That is all I know. I can't make any assumptions beyond that. But that there are people that authoritatively, you know, uh, authoritatively try to impose upon you their little security blanket as far as to how they interpret, because a lot of people, I'm not one of them, and I certainly have a couple of friends that wouldn't fall under the banner. I don't have a need to know the meaning of life. I don't need a meaning. I create my meaning based on my understanding of the things that I see. And to put this in perspective, and to something that I wrote in the description, and this is something that I just looked into it, okay, is that if a person were to approach me and try to authoritatively tell me that, God this, or God is the absolute power, and God thinks this way, and which is anthropomorphic. And if you don't know the meaning of the word, of course, look it up. Anthropomorphic means I'll tell you. Anthropomorphic means when we project our emotional qualities onto a deity, or an all powerful deity. So, we say that God thinks that, God thinks that. So it's like, no, we're just projecting onto this all powerful force because it makes us feel more comfortable, or it makes some feel more comfortable with that. Some people are scared to be free. And some people have the wool pulled over the. I think most people have the wool pulled over their eyes, really, and they're bullied through society, their network, into accepting and embracing the bullshit of those authoritarian, those false authoritarian forces. And the reason I say it's false is because this is what I found out. I might have shrunk because I thought I was 5'6". I was told that I was 5'5", maybe even a little less, but I'm kind of picking it up just in half an inch or so. So 5'5", and I weigh around 155 pounds. Okay. Now, if I were to scale my size only to this planet, okay, and say my body represents Earth, how big would I be in comparison? And the answer is, for my size, a strain of E. coli, bacterium that is in my body that helps with the digestive process. Okay? So I am supposed to accept the authority of, and I'm being generous, of an E. coli bacterium? And we know we're even smaller than that, because there's more to Earth, or there's more to this life than just Earth. This is Earth is the ecosphere that we're confined to. So to me, it seems reasonable to understand that scale. If Earth is the body, I am a strain of E. coli, which is considered a large strain, by the way, of E. coli bacterium. So there is no one that can stand in front of me and tell me that they know what the fuck is going on. All truths are conditional. Right and wrong, conditional. There is no absolute right, there is no absolute wrong. That we, in this condition, have the ability to comprehend at all. So when anybody tries to command you or tell you and to hide behind a fake manufactured ideological spiritual shield, or whatever you want to call it, apparatus, really, you can say, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you to tell me this? You're nobody. You are bacterium, and I'm being generous. So we are really, there's very little logic to our process. The logic that we manifest, and the faulty logic at best, is really just a rationalization of our emotions, our feelings. That's all we have, our feelings. That's it. And so it's really important, and I've mentioned this before, to try to rein in and control your feelings so that you have more power over your body. You don't want your feelings to control you. You want to control your feelings. You don't want your body to control you. You want your feelings to control your body. It's a sort of a Russian doll, one inside of the other, which, there's a lot of religions that sort of give you some sense of that, the chakras, the energy that you can emit when you actually have that control. Okay. Now, these are things I haven't ever studied chakras. I have friends that share that information with me. And like I said, I adopt things. I don't just sort of embrace things that sound good and then all of a sudden say, this is it. I don't do that. I said, I process it and I use the things that are helpful to me. So my focus at this point, is to feel good. And I know that in order for me to feel good, I have to treat my body with respect. I need to make sure that it is conditioned in a way that I feel creates the energy that I need in order to do the things that I want to do. I have not thought everything that I'm saying here. I've not thought this out. This is just kind of coming and streaming, and I guess it's some people refer to it as riffing, and I think I'm going to stop right here because I think I've made my case, unless, of course, we need to understand a little bit more the dynamics of that authoritarian ecosphere, where everybody is trying to control you, and everybody, in other people's eyes, you're a tool. You are a resource, and the most easy way to manipulate you without actually putting restraints on you and, chaining you or crucifying you or, incarcerating you is by isolating you emotionally and extorting you and intimidating you emotionally and using the forces of peers and society and concepts. People that adopt a belief system adopt the belief system for their own personal comfort. And most people do not enjoy being alone. So what do? When you are encaged in a system, because once you turn things into a system, then again, it's the purpose of a system is to control, is to have patterns that repeat themselves, that are predictable, so that we can profit and we can gain from them. So if I'm a person that lives in a spiritual cage, like Catholicism or Christianity, or any spiritual cage, or Hinduism, or the Muslim faith or the Jewish faith, then I want other people to come in and be with me, because I don't want to be by myself in this cage. The cage is going to be, it's going to make me happier if I have other people in this cage, and especially if I convince them to be in this cage with me, because then I will be able to control them in my cage. All over the planet, this dynamic is evident in this, even the smallest of tribes, but I will say that, and I don't know all the tribes and all the tribes dynamics and all the cultures in the world and everything like that, that there are tribes that operate under a cooperative spirit where every spirit is independent. Every spirit is independent. Every spirit has its own strength. You know, at this point in time, I don't think in male female, because again, those are constraints. They want, because they want to control things. They want to use your offspring to control them. We are all hybrids. We are all hybrids. We are made up of both male and female spirits, even if we want to call them that, because that is a false dichotomy. We simply have, for me, and especially with the authoritarians, they are tools of they're gaslit. They believe the bullshit. They don't know any better. Most of them don't. And they are territorial chimps that are easily manipulated and swayed with the bananas. Come here, and they get lured into the cage. And then they will protect that cage, because that cage is a cage that gives them the banana. So much, and if they've wrapped themselves in a flag, well, they're a territorial chimp. Especially if they wrap themselves in a flag, they're a territorial chimp. Call them out for what they are. Tell them to their face. But you have to feel strong. And you can't be fearful. Fear is the enemy. It is your enemy. There's no reason to have, we have to process that, though. I'm going to tell you, I'm not, this is a product of all kinds of shit. And I will tell you that I have cowered in fear in my brain and the spirits and the darkness, and I've had to confront the demons of the darkness, which are my own demons. I had to battle them. But I'm here. I'm here. So we survived. I might go back and listen to this a little bit to see how I might be able to go off. But if there's a question that comes up, just let me know, or a comment or anything. Again, I don't care about, whether you like or dislike, or, this is just me sharing information. I am not trying to monetize this, because I don't like money. I try to get us by with as little money, because money also, that's the banana. That's the banana. Sex is the banana. Drugs are the banana. Alcohol is the banana. All these things are distractions to keep you from finding yourself. And to find yourself, you have to test yourself. You have to challenge yourself. You have the things that you say no to, you have to say why to, why no. You have to come up with the framework. You have to find your spirit. And it's not easy. And, it could be ego or what. I don't necessarily like the word ego as well, because I try to destroy my ego as much as possible. I am telling people, I don't ever want to know who I am. I want to be on the journey to discover, because I know that I'm not just a flat line. I am a circle that radiates and pulses in and out and in and out. And I manufacture, I create my own orbits. I don't follow the orbit of a hero or of a dogma, or of a musical pattern even. I like all kinds of music. I've always had this, and I didn't have the courage. I was naive and I was bullied. But I remember a time when back in the 80s, when I liked punk rock music, and then all of a sudden I would hear something that was sort of a little bit more new wavy and a little bit softer, and then it's like, that's trendy, or that's girly, or what. Fuck that shit. That's dumb fuckery as far as I'm concerned. I don't need to limit myself to anything. I can embrace it all. I can embrace it all and beyond, or experience it all. Because I wouldn't really be able to embrace it all because there's so much. But I don't want to limit myself. I don't want to find myself in a pattern where eventually I collapse like a black hole. I was obese. My lovely friend saw me one time and looked at me and saw it in my face that I was lost. And I will admit that. I have no shame in that respect. I have to own up to my to my to my failures or the short sightedness and the distractions that I was a prisoner of. Those were simply the conditions that I had to deal with. So I guess I'm going to stop there. And again, anything else, just kind of mention it, and maybe we'll see. But process the information. Don't create bullshit in your head. Just enjoy life. Get out there. Get strong. I don't have to be physically strong, just physically healthy. And because when you and I've shared this before with many friends. I've conditioned my body over the past 5 years by running. I didn't get there right away. I didn't understand the nature of the process. I didn't really know what the final result would be, or what the temporary result, or the tiered result would be. But the tiered result, or where this got me, is that by running and running and running on an ongoing basis and challenging my body on an ongoing basis, is that I've elevated the processes of the body and the E. coli bacterium that's inside of me, my little me inside of me. I am my God inside of, there's a little bacterium in there, and I am that God to that bacterium. I carry that bacterium and I take it places, and I determine its path. It helps me. It helps me poop. So with that all being said, again, I keep saying that I'm going to close, so I'm going to close out. Take care, okay? But not too much care. Just get out there. Get out there. Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself. Find yourself. Don't worry, be happy. Later.